Hi. All right. So we are going to learn a little bit about the Carolinas and their formation and becoming a part of the 13 colonies today. So remember that the English had begun to lay claim to large areas of North America. After all, the Spanish were claiming most of Central and South America and even parts of Southern North America as their own. And the French had claimed much of northern North America, right, the upper regions. The English thought it was only fair that they claim huge chunks of land too. As you recall, England's first attempt to colonize North America on Roanoke Island off the coast of present-day North Carolina failed and became known as the Lost Colony. But in 1663, Charles II, the son of Charles I and grandson of King James I, decided to try again near the same area. Charles II eagerly gave a charter or an official document to 8 of his friends that stated that the land between Virginia and the Spanish colony of Florida, that's a lot of land, right? Like that's that whole eastern coast pretty much, now belonged to him, well, to England, to be precise. Today, this land is North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, although Georgia was not officially colonized until much later. Charles II also named part of this land after himself. This charter was extended in 1665, and more land was divided up among his friends to manage. Charles II was particularly generous to those who had helped his family when his father, Charles I, was killed. At that time, Charles II had been forced to flee to another country. When Charles II was eventually allowed to return to England to take the throne, he owed a great deal of money to a great many people. This was his way out of debt, and it was to give them North America, well, parts of it anyway. Having heard how successful Jamestown was, hundreds and then thousands of English flocked to the South and to the Carolinas in particular. In 1670, a busy seaport was established called Charlestown. And I'm sure you can guess whose Charlestown was named after, right? King Charles II. So here is an image of Charles I, who was killed. Charles II basically kind of had to go on the run and lay low until things in England died down at that particular time. You'll learn more about that in fifth grade. But during that time that he was kind of in hiding, other people protected him, and he was an expensive person to kind of entertain and home. And so he owed a lot of money to these friends. And so he gifts them this land in the New World. And one of those towns was named directly after him. And you can see here, right, that this is a really large area of land. So Virginia and Jamestown has been established at this point successfully. So this North Carolina, this South Carolina, Georgia, like that is a large chunk of land. And then you have Florida way down in the South, which was owned by Spain at that time. In the beginning, many colonists in the Carolinas established small farms. Before long, large plantations replaced small farms for the purpose of growing cash crops. So remember, cash crops are crops that you are selling for money to, have an economy and to become self-sufficient and bring in money to your town and your own plantation. The top 3 cash crops in this area during this time were rice, tobacco, and indigo. The warm climate and marshy stretches of land with fewer trees in the Carolinas were perfect for growing rice and indigo, whereas tobacco thrived in certain parts of North Carolina. With drier land and more trees, the geography and climate of Virginia was not conducive to growing rice and indigo. Tobacco was the only cash crop in Jamestown. As in Virginia, it soon became clear that there was a lot of money to be made in the Carolinas by growing crops. Many more workers were needed, and unfortunately, the solution the colonists chose was the extensive use of slavery. As you can imagine, no one volunteers to be enslaved. And unlike indentured servants, enslaved Africans did not come to North America of their own free will as a part of an exchange agreement, nor did they have any hope of ever being set free. Instead, they were taken by force. The roots of slavery go deep into the past, and throughout history, powerful people have enslaved less powerful people. Although England began trading enslaved Africans later than some European countries, it soon became one of the biggest slave trading countries due to the widespread use of slavery in the English colonies. So, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, they all they were all slave colonies at this particular time because they were so reliant on these cash crops that needed a lot of workers at a very low cost. So we will talk more about slavery in the upcoming lesson. But for Carolinas, or the Carolinas, that is our lesson for today. All righty. See you next time.